Venture capital is missing out on half the market, but that's starting to change, and it starts here. In this episode of Investing for Doctors, we sit down with Samar Mcheileh, managing partner at Scale Investors, who's just launched a female-focused fund that's flipping the investing script by backing women-led startups in healthcare, disability, climate, and the care economy.
For every 1% of female representation you have in an investment team, you're making 1.6% more IRR. Compared to all male teams, when you have women in representation on investment management teams, they perform 9.6% better. There is a compound advantage of not only investing in women-led startups, but investing in, as LPs, in women fund managers, because you get better outcomes.
We will unpack why only 2 to 4% of venture funding goes to startups led by only women, the overlooked market opportunity that's bigger than the population of India and China combined, and how doctors, especially female doctors, can play a powerful role in funding the very problems they're solving on the front lines.
As investors, that's all we're looking for in inefficiencies. And so if we bring it back to angel investing and fund management and finding those companies, where are the inefficiencies and where is this huge potential market? And female markets alone are as big as India and China combined. If we funded them at the same rate that they're being funded for other companies, we should see a supercharging of these incredible companies in the Australian economy that have global application.
Whether you're curious about angel investing, passionate about women's health, or want your capital create impact and returns, this is an opportunity you can't afford to ignore. Now let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another installment of the Investing for Doctors podcast. I'm your host, Dr. B. And today I'm recording from the Hyatt Hotel in Melbourne Place. And I've got a special guest today, which is going to be a bit different from our usual sort of guest because she is actually a fund manager. And Samara, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Samar Mcheileh. I'm the managing partner at Scale Investors. We've just launched our first ever fund.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So Scale Venture Fund 1. We ran as a syndicate for the last 12 years. We started back in 2013 with a thesis on investing in women-led startups. And basically what we mean when we say women-led startups is we're looking for at least one woman on a founding team that has equal equity and decision-making, so is in a C-suite role, and we invest really early.
Yeah, awesome. So now that's obviously a very long journey that you've just put in that very brief introduction. Tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get into this space, become an angel investor, and go down this journey? And later we'll talk about sort of your thesis and why you like the venture space and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I've over 15 years in investment management and financial services. I spent over a decade at JB Weir, so a wealth manager. Actually, the head office here is here in Melbourne, but it's a national wealth management firm. And I held quite a few roles in that firm. I started just after global financial crisis. I was in London beforehand. So pre-global financial crisis, I was in London. I actually started my career in logistics and then transitioned to finance when I was in London because I was like, I worked for a hedge fund publication and I was like, this is amazing. And I really wanted to work in finance. I just saw like a really neat sort of transition of skills from logistics to financial, to the world of wealth management in particular, and just found it really quite compelling. And so landed at Goldman's, JB Weir, back in 2008. It was never quite the same after the global financial.
That was an interesting time to be.
It was a really interesting time to start. It took me a really long time to land that job, but I was quite determined. And it's kind of probably a bit of a theme, I guess, over the career. But the role that I held for the longest actually at JB Weir was managing the markets desk. And essentially what that meant was running the syndicate of financial advisors and to their clients. And Goldman's being our first sort of were our main sort of provider of deal flow. We did all kinds of different deals. And then when the first transaction I actually worked on was Goldman selling JB Weir to National Australia Bank. So that was what that really opened up, was a true diversification of clients' portfolios and therefore the deals and the opportunities that we created. So essentially building a book for every single deal across all the asset classes. So from the privatization of Medibank, which was one of the first transactions I worked on, all the way through to, pre-seed and seed venture deals. Yep. And in the mid-2000s, we were trying to find value for clients. And in that process, fintech especially was blowing up. Obviously, I was very exposed to that given the area that I worked in. And so that's when I heard about Scale in I think it was like 2016 is when I learnt about Scale, and thought, why isn't everyone investing in this asset class? There's a clear arbitrage between the amount of capital that is being deployed at the top line, and then the piece of the pie that women-led teams get is quite minimal, less 2 to 4% globally. It's a global problem. Yet their propensity to outperform is being proven over and over again. And I think we've spoken about this a lot, where we know diverse teams outperform across the investment spectrum. And that's my experience in having done deals across the investment spectrum. I'm like, why wouldn't you do this from the start? This is incredible. And then so there was basically a team of 3 of us that moved across to Scale to professionalize it. Consecutively from 2018.
Yeah. So my understanding is of the history was that Scale was angel investing group, much similar to what Medical Angels is.
Yeah.
And over the period of time, the 3 current partners for Scale sort of moved in and professionalized the fit out, and while still doing sort of angels / syndicate deals. Now, we're going to take it back to the basics, because this is going to be one of the first, few podcasts we talk about this sort of angel investing venture. What does investing in this space sort of mean for you? And like, you mentioned you're seeing founders at the very, very start of that journey, and seeing them through to eventually being successful and exiting. Like, what about this space that really sort of drives you, I guess? I think.
Yeah, I think the culmination of my experience in investing across different asset classes, I think what excites me the most about venture capital is that you're getting in from the start, and you are seeing the innovation that is being created from literally like an idea. Yeah. So we meet founders when they have an idea a lot of the time, or they've spent, 10 years creating or crafting their kind of research analysis or thesis, right? And then they want to commercialize that. And that's, at the kind of towards the end of that kind of research part is when we're sort of meeting them and understanding how are they thinking of commercializing this research, whether it's in, maternal health, whether it's in women's health, which is, notoriously underserved. Like I think, if I link venture capital back to our thesis, what we're really excited about is the women's lived experience as it relates to underserved markets. So, women's health is a really good example of that, because we know that women were not part of clinical trials until 94 or something outrageous. And so you could get angry about that, but actually it's a really big, massive opportunity for us there's a huge gap in the market. So why not invest in that? And we kind of look at the care economy in its totality as the biggest opportunity when it comes to, as well as climate, in plugging that gap where women's lived experience is really quite unique. And I think for frontline workers as yourself, the more climate change, the more impact that we're seeing, which we're obviously seeing already, it impacts
health
and well-being. Yeah. And I think a lot of the times those links are not made, especially in venture. Like, I just think the reason I love this asset class so much, it's literally pioneering. It's right at the start, and it's making sure, especially in an age of AI, that we're ensuring that diverse perspectives are funded appropriately, and therefore creating the products and services that we use, into the future. And that, it's been a very monocultural group of people that have been the asset allocators, that have been the capital allocators for a very long time. And those biases need to be,
they need to be addressed.
They need to be addressed. Yeah. I mean, and addressed because of the enormous economic opportunity it presents. Like, sure, we want to close the gender gap and it's a great social thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. I'm passionate about that, but it's actually like the biggest economic and, financial opportunity of our time, particularly in the melting pot of Australia.
Yeah. So Samara, I think it's clear to say that women founders and women-led startups are sort of underrepresented in not just in the companies that get the asset allocation, but also in, the people that are allocating the assets, because as you probably were both well aware that most of the allocator of funding are stereotypically male, white, and rather elderly. Not to say all of them are old, but they tend to fall into that generation where wealth was typically kept in a very sort of male-led dominated sort of industry. And I reflect that back in sort of medicine. Medicine used to be a very male-dominated sort of industry, whereas nursing was female-dominated. And now there's actually a pretty good mixture of that. And, we are seeing sort of shifts in workplace culture and all of that. So, how does that, is that happening in the financial space, or do you think that's still very much lagging?
I think in my personal lived experience and in my career, I was always usually the only woman in the room.
Out.
Yeah. And I think when I was younger, I never really gave too much thought about it, to be honest. I think this is what you find a lot in nascent industries like finance, like property, like infrastructure, like sport, like politics. What you find is that when you're younger, you don't actually realize, because I think what's happened in venture in particular, if we were just to focus on this sector, there is definitely been an increase in junior representation, or more equal representation at junior levels. But we know that actually the difference happens
at the senior level.
So I think it's something like, if there's a woman fund manager or an investment, decision maker, on an IC, their propensity to invest in women is 3 to 4 times more. The companies or the investment committees will invest definitely an increased percentage, depending on what it is, into women-led startups. We're seeing that already come out through some of the data in Australia, but in the UK, in Europe, and in the US, which is where they're probably quite ahead of us in terms of measuring these impacts. You're already seeing that, especially at early stages. We know that women fund managers also outperform, again, across the investment spectrum. It's not just in venture, but for every 1% of female representation you have in an investment team or investment decision maker, you're making 1.6% more IRR. Their performance is better. So compared to all male teams, when you have women in representation on investment management teams, they perform 9.6% better. And also they're far less volatile. There is an advantage, and we think a compound advantage of not only investing in women-led startups, but investing in, as LPs, in women fund managers, because you get better outcomes.
Yeah. And I'm going to be
financial results.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to be a bit controversial here, and I would like your opinion on that. Is that a function of the fact that it's so difficult to get to that stage as a female sort of a fund manager? So the people that do get to that stage tend to be excellent, like yourself, or is that more of are there just a higher ratio of poorly performing male fund managers that got there even though they shouldn't be there?
It's funny that you say that, because let's take the
because it's so hard, right? It's so hard to get there. So the only people that get there have to be really spectacular.
Have to be exceptional. Yeah. I think there's definitely room for more mediocre fund managers, right? Of any representation. But I think it's definitely a factor, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the kind of, what are the traits for for unicorn founders? So there was a study done out of Harvard, I believe, that tracked or did a study on the traits of unicorn founders. And there's three main things that they kind of all had in common.
Yes.
Firstly, they were all underrepresented. So minority groups and women, which is, I don't want to say women are minority because they're not, but minority representation. So, be it of a different kind of cultural background, but also women in that category. Secondly, they had no plan B. And thirdly, they had a chip on their shoulder. Those three things combined are
chip on the shoulder is a good one. Yeah.
I think the chip on the shoulder is it's funny because
you want to prove something.
Yeah. And so I think you're not being controversial in that comment. I think you're on the money on that comment, that it is because of the nature of it being so difficult that you've got something to prove.
Yeah.
You've got something to prove. You've got no plan B. Everyone else goes, well, why don't you go and work in finance again, or in corporate finance again? And I'm just like, no,
that's not an option.
It's not an option. It's literally not an option for me. I don't want to do it. I want to be doing this because I know it's the biggest opportunity. I think we have an exceptional team in the three partners. So, Chelsea and I met at Weir's. We've known each other for over 9 years now. We've known Rue for, I think we've all worked together as a team for at least 5. We bought the business 28 months ago, and we bought it with the vision to we've already started professionalizing it. We were managing it anyway, and we were just like, this is the biggest opportunity in venture. We definitely have something to prove, because we know that, I guess, what we can't wait for, and what we're really fortunate in having some really incredible LPs and families that have backed us on this journey really early on is exactly that belief that this capital injection into Australian innovation by women, for the benefit of everyone is just like a profound opportunity that we need to take advantage of now because of all the,
So let me rephrase it. I think in a way, because it's so hard for women founders to get funded, and I think you mentioned that statistics, like something less than 5% are female-led companies. Is that right? Of all distribution? As in from the funding side. So
I think there's less than 17% of female fund managers globally.
Yeah, but also from the companies that get
companies. I mean, only women-only teams they receive between 2% and 4% globally.
Yeah,
and then it's actually going backwards as well, which is quite sad. And then for mixed teams, and so that is defined quite loosely as having one woman on the founding team, and we're not sure about what their equity stake is, which we think is a really key important factor. Is 15%.
Oh, that's still abysmal.
So there is a statistic that you basically get for every woman you have on your team, and so the really important thing here as well, which is what we're plugging, because I think people talk about market inefficiencies, at Series A, like the valley of death.
Yeah.
And that valley of death absolutely exists. It's not gendered. It exists for everyone, right? It's obviously worse for women, because the problem is that even if you do get funded at, pre-seed or seed, these companies are getting 3 to 4 times less than their equivalent male counterparts. You're simply not competitive by the time you get to Series A. You're just not. How could you be? You've had to work on a shoestring of a budget, basically, to try and achieve the same sort of growth metrics. And we all know in venture, your capital is buying growth. That's what it's there to do. It's to accelerate and really put a kind of rocket up that growth trajectory. Yeah. And if you're not able to, and at the early stages, it's actually about iterating. So we're going to go down this pathway. We're going to go down that. What's the kind of go-to-market strategy? And if you don't have enough money to try things properly and go down each rabbit hole, you're simply not going to be competitive versus, an equivalent sort of business at that Series A.
Yeah. So I guess the way that
there's a tax, basically.
Yeah. So the way that I'm looking at it based on what you're telling me is that there is a whole segment of the market that is being underrepresented because, and when I talk about market as in companies that we could potentially deploy capital into as a fund manager or as an investor. And because of that sort of mismatch in investing, that is unrealized or a potential for growth. Because it's being either neglected or, they're not receiving the funding when they still have that latent potential. So
well, I mean, I think the way that we describe it is that the thesis here is that the lived experience of, say, a doctor to go and solve a problem, who's up on the front line, who, in the care economy is predominantly women, right? So we've got 85% of decisions being made across disability, health, med, aging, child and fam. Those categories those decisions are made by women. And so therefore the theory is they're at the coldface of these problems and they can solve for them because they have, and we know that it takes a lot of grit and determination to see a startup from idea through to exit. Like it's typically a 7 to 10 year journey, if not longer. And so there's also, because the fund managers or the asset allocators perhaps don't understand these problems as acutely as what perhaps I would on a women's health issue, for example, or a care issue, for example, because predominantly we're the ones that are the carers. Right?
Because the women are the ones that care for the family, either the children, the parents.
And even on climate change, we experience climate change disproportionately and acutely, very differently. And, I think if you look at the emerging economies or frontier economies, finance is predicated on women's involvement, and it just hasn't caught up in the venture world. So there's an economic gap. There's a female economy that we're not servicing and that we're under-servicing. So not only from the founder perspective, that perspective we think is a huge advantage because you're servicing yourself. And so you understand the problems you're facing and therefore can take advantage of that dollar. So like the pink dollar for green outcomes, something that we sort of think about because there is this severe lack or gap in the market, or inefficiency rather. I mean, as investors, that's all we're looking for, inefficiencies.
You're looking for inefficiencies.
And so if we bring it back to angel investing and fund management and finding those companies, where are the inefficiencies and where is this huge potential market? And female markets alone are as big as India and China combined. It is a no-brainer to go, well, if we funded them at the same rate that they're being funded for other companies, we should see a supercharging of these incredible companies in the Australian economy that have global application. Because that's, I think, the advantage. Like if we were to take it up and take a step back and go, okay, let's look at Australia as a category, as a geography for
investment. I think Australia, we do very well.
I mean, we're bat above our average, right? On everything, on in sport, in so many different categories. It's no different in venture. For this, I think one of my favorite, there was a report actually that was created, or that was released earlier this year by, Deal Room, Side Stage and, Amazon.
Yes.
And this report, I mean, I could reel off the stats for another 5 minutes on Australia's potential for outperformance. I mean, one of my favorite ones the one that we quote a lot is for every $1 billion that is spent in this country on venture, we create the second most amount of unicorns globally, second to the US. We're ahead of, so many huge economies. I mean, we invested in 21 was the biggest year that they had the highest investment in venture. It was $10 billion. The US is investing 700 times that, and we're creating, the top kind of tech companies in the world.
I mean,
and then you look at
a whole list of them.
I mean, and then I think when we think about the confluence of trends as it relates to women, there's a huge transition of wealth happening it's globally, but in Australia alone, 3.2 trillion in the next decade. We know that women invest differently. We know that they invest back into their community. They're far more carbon conscious with their consumer decisions. And they're just not being serviced. And we think not only is this an opportunity from an LP or investor point of view, but equally from a consumer point of view, because that's ultimately what's going to get these businesses to grow and therefore exit and become like prospects for global kind of acquisition
is
what we're looking for and what our investors are looking for. And then we think that there will be this incredible flywheel of opportunity that occurs. I mean, we've already seen it in our syndicate track record. I mean, really what we're doing here is leveraging our syndicate track record
into
for global institutional kind of application.
And that all makes a lot of sense because at Medical Angels, we invest in the medical space, and then it's the same people that are using these medical products. So your thesis is that you invest in women-led sort of founders, and I think a lot of them will be working in the women's space, whether in health or in climate or in other industries, and that because they have that lived experience, they understand the
consumer deeply.
Exactly. Much like how we leverage our sort of professional knowledge, you're leveraging your gender knowledge, I guess, in a way. And that seems to be a hugely untapped market, which I absolutely agree with you in that regard. And I think there's a seismic shift in the way we view that, and you're trying to be at the forefront of that.
We're trying to be at the forefront of that because the time is now, and not only is this transition of wealth happening, it's happening to two main cohorts within that category, right? So I think the reason why we're so excited about this is it's usually the oldest daughter that is inheriting a lot of money, inheriting money before their parents are passing as well, which is another huge trend. And our ability to connect with those individuals is far greater. I mean, that's not ideal. They understand the thesis, right? Because they are the consumer. They're the people that are typically faced with a lot of the problems from a care point of view as well, for whether it's, elderly parents or their children, right? And then I think, the market size is really the key part as well, right? And at the intersect of these confluences, so the transition of wealth, the huge market size, and the fact that we think women's lived experience played into all of that, at the intersection of that is this outsized returns capacity that, has a really incredible flywheel impact that we see happening in Australia. I think the other thing that we want to consider here is, as you said, we were talking about it before, like people are called doctors. They're not called woman doctors or male doctors. They're just a doctor.
They used to, but not so much anymore.
And I think that is really the opportunity here. Like we shouldn't be calling people female founders or a male founder for that matter. I mean, they're just founders, right? And, the government has, injected millions of dollars globally, but especially in Australia, to encourage more girls and women to get into STEM. And we're now seeing the kind of fruits of that labor, and we're seeing these incredible innovations come through and these technologies that have global application that, Australia is arguably notoriously not great at commercializing any sort of technology. But this technology especially we think is like a huge, huge opportunity because it's just people and it's servicing a community that has been underserved for so long. And all of these things that, we could reel off data forever on why we think these certain categories make so much sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, now that we've talked about sort of the potential and the market opportunity here, let's talk a bit more about your fund. I mean, specifically, what type of companies are you investing? I I assume they have to have a female-led founder.
Yes.
But what other metric are you?
So the top line mandate is we're looking for at least one woman on the founding team that has equal equity and is in a C-suite role. We invest really early, so seed or pre-seed. We have the kind of focus areas on care and climate, and so as I described before, care is very broadly defined. That encompasses, med, health, women's health, femtech, disability, aging, family, childcare, sex tech, death tech. We're seeing incredible deal flow in that space.
And that's something that Australia has typically excelled at from a healthcare perspective.
Those categories,
because I'm just going to ramble on that. I can ramble on that forever, but it's like, I think dollar for dollar, we're one of the most efficient healthcare systems in the world. And
And I've actually got some stats on just disability itself, which is an area that really excites us. Particularly Rue Harris is one of the partners. She has, we call her the TISM expert, the TISM tech expert.
Okay.
And the reason for that, well, autism, obviously. She's really an active member of the community. And we're just seeing so much, and I mean, arguably even in Australia, when it comes to the support from disability, even from a government point of view, again, there is so much of an emphasis on this, and the opportunity, the economic opportunity that it presents. I mean, it's in the trillions. So, globally, the disability tech market it's 2025 this year is $2.7 trillion.
Yeah.
That's just the disability tech sector. And it's only ever going to grow. I mean, I think by the time you're 40, 1 in 2 people have a disability of some kind.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a huge market, and one where we think women are particularly, at the coldface of. And have a
they're cognitive because they're,
I mean, they solve them for their children, for themselves, and for their kind of parents, I guess. The other area is climate tech. So we really like biodiversity. I mean, again, I think Australia, from an ag tech point of view, has a real advantage, and we see a lot of women-led deals in that space. We've got a few in our portfolio, and so not infrastructure, but we're really interested in those sectors as well. But really what it comes down to is this lived experience component. So what we're really looking for is, at the early stages, there's not many fundamentals that you're investing in, apart from obviously the size of the market and all those types of things. But as we've established, they're pretty big. Yeah. It's really what gives this founding team a unique advantage. I think importantly, over 50% of our current portfolio is mixed teams, and that's also what we're seeing in our pipeline. So we're just really wanting to lead deals. We think that's another key advantage here, because what happens is we see these incredible opportunities that just go around the market and can't find a lead, and therefore don't get off the ground. I mean, setting terms for deals is really important.
Yeah. And being the one to lead that is also very important, because a lot of people don't understand that early space, they can't be bothered.
And I think the advantage that we have is because we've been running the syndicate for 6 years as a team, or 7 years as a team already. And because Scale has been around for 12 years, we have a really incredible advantage in terms of not only our existing portfolio, but because women-led teams are not being funded, they come to us. Yeah. And not only do they come to us, but we're truly community-led. Yeah. Very much like Angels in terms of, we have a community around us of experts that can come in and support, because I'm not a doctor, right? So I'll come to you. Be like, what do you think of this opportunity, right? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So
we do that.
I think that community-led aspect of our venture model is, again, it's research backed. I mean, the best venture funds are the most successful based on their investment process. So again, we've professionalized that process. It's what we've done I've done that for my entire career. Really, and setting terms, setting structures. So we set up an ESVCLP, so an early stage venture capital limited partnership.
It's a mouthful. Yeah.
It's a mouthful, but it's the, Australian government initiative to encourage folks to come into early stage investing. Yeah. You get tax advantages. This is not tax advice. You've got to...
I can say that. I mean, the ESVCLP regime basically gives you a 10% tax offset once the funds are invested, and no capital gains for the from the returns, essentially.
I think it's up to 250 million. So it's quite incredible.
Yeah. And that's the size of the fund.
The total size of the fund. Yeah. So if you look at, so we've been really quite successful. We've got, it was in the Fin over the weekend.
Yes. So I saw the financial review, and you've got some very big backers. So tell us about them, because now it's, official.
Yeah, now it's official, which is awesome. Well, we've got one more cornerstone to announce, which will come up soon. But the two main cornerstones who've come in is Minderoo Strategic Impact Fund. So the Forrest family, Nicola Forrest is, gender equality is a huge And the financial and economic opportunity there is something that the teams realize. They invest in these types of opportunities globally.
Yep.
This is one that they see in Australia as one of the best. So, you know, as you can imagine, it was quite a grueling due diligence process, but one that was incredible and one that is quite a strategic partnership. I mean, we want to change the ecosystem here. This is not, you know, the fund is the focus, but really the opportunity is shifting the ecosystem and really realizing this opportunity on so many levels. Zampatti family, which we're so excited about. I mean, they are, you know, Carla Zampatti, iconic fashion designer, incredible businesswoman who has built, you know, really quite a legacy, and her children are just amazing individuals and really see the potential and the opportunity of investing in women entrepreneurs. So they've come in to back us, which is incredible, as well as, the strategic investors like the Thickens family office. So Selena and her husband, Joel. Joel is a, you know, PE, a private equity. He heads up Asia Pac for TPG. Selena is, you know, set up her family office a few years ago and just really sees this opportunity as a massive one. And we see this, like we've got other strategic LPs like this where, you know, they see this as an opportunity for potential acquisition, right, of some of the companies. You know, there's alternative pathways. Most tech companies exit through merger and acquisition. Like they don't get listed on they certainly don't get listed on the ASX.
No, I think that's been quite a dead space.
It's been
lately.
dead for like 12, 18 months, right? Yeah. And so that is really, you know, something that we've built this incredible lineup of LPs, and so we've raised 26 million. Our first target is 30 million.
Yes.
So we're wanting to get to that in the next month or so, so as quickly as possible. We have also agreed our first deal under CP, so under condition precedents for when the fund closes, we'll make good on that deal. And we intend to do 2 more before the end of the year. And then we want to keep going. Our goal is 100 million. I think realistically 50 million, but we just need one institutional investor to convert and we can get to 100, I think. So absolutely. That's what we're going to continue to aim for. But we want to get some more deals under our belt and then go back out to market early next year.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think one of the...
There's obviously an opportunity to come in now.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess one of the reasons why we're having this interview is that, you know, I personally love what you guys are doing. I've seen some of the passion and you know, you guys are doing, and I'm hopefully we can use this as an opportunity to sort of bring some of our female doctors and male doctors along this journey with you. And, you know, I'll put in a bit more information with this podcast on how you can do that. Amazing. And, we look forward to hearing, you know, your first close and the first deal coming through.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bi. It's really great to be on the journey. We're looking forward to continuing to co-invest.
Absolutely.
And everyone is welcome, male, female, whoever, because this is an opportunity for everyone. We'd obviously welcome anyone to join the journey, and I think a really unique opportunity in the market right now. It's the first of its kind. So.
Absolutely. And you know, we'll obviously put a bit more information on how to do that through our you know, structures. Yeah.
Great. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me.
No, likewise. Thank you for spending the time here.
In the pink room.
Yeah, in the pink room. Exactly.
This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The information and opinions shared are not intended as personal financial advice. The content presented should not be relied upon for making financial, investment, or other decisions. Listeners are strongly encouraged to seek the advice of qualified financial or legal professionals before making any financial decisions. While we aim to provide valuable and accurate information, we make no guarantees regarding the completeness or accuracy of the content. Any reliance on the information provided is done at your own risk.